All right, everybody. Hello. We are live coming to you from Northern Armenia, and we've got a lot to talk about for sure. There's a ton of things happening as usual. Do me a favor and put where you're watching from in the chat box so we can see from people all over the world coming in to watch the Hot Zone tonight. Now, Hezbollah has lost thousands of fighters. Their arsenals are battered, but yet they're threatening to rain missiles on Israel if one more strike hits Lebanese soil. So we're going to talk tonight about whether or not that's a bluff or the start of something much worse. Now, this is a video of recent strikes by Israel in Lebanon. And you can hear how loud that is. I'll turn that down a little bit. But these strikes have been ongoing. Israel has struck more than 500 times, and it's only been like 260 something days since the ceasefire went into effect. So that means that Israel is striking Lebanon on average twice a day, more or less, and taking out, continuing to degrade Hezbollah. So can Hezbollah come back? Well, their leader says they can, and they are. And we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. So before we do that, though, I want to show you this incredible story about gold. These guys found 300 and something kilograms of gold on a traffic stop in Brazil. Somebody's car, they were carrying $11 million worth of gold bars in their car. Now, folks, you don't have to keep your gold in your car, and that's not a good place to keep it anyway. You can actually put your retirement plan into a safe, an actual safe, physical gold, and you can do that through using preserved gold to roll over part of your retirement plan. That's a good idea if you are, I don't know, getting up there in retirement age, close to retirement age, and you've got all your stuff in stocks and mutual funds. You might want to think about diversifying into gold. Gold is stable, and preserve gold can help you do that. You can go to preservegold.com/Chuck Holton, or you can go to preservegold.com/hotzone, either one, or just text the word Chuck to 50505. And so you go on your phone, text 50505, text the word Chuck. They'll send you a free wealth protection guide, and you can talk to the people there. They will help you get started. And that way you won't have to drive around with $11 million worth of gold in your car. Bad idea. Now the police in Brazil are having a big party, and somebody's out 11 million bucks. So anyway, thank you to our sponsors tonight. Please go visit preservegold.com/hotzone and get your free wealth protection guide right away. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on here. Man, we got people from all over the place. Ohio, Ontario. So, all right. I get distracted watching the chat because it's fun to see where everybody's coming in from. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button, folks. That does help. It tells YouTube more people need to watch this this show, and that helps us a lot. Now, what is going on? Everybody's been focusing on Gaza, and in the meantime, Hezbollah has been licking its wounds, even as Israel continues to strike every time they see anything that looks to be a threat. They've continued to track down Hezbollah leadership and unalive those guys, as they're driving their motorbike to work or something. They just spontaneously combust. So there's been a lot of that going on in Israel. So, I mean, in Lebanon. So on August 5th, that was yesterday, Hezbollah's deputy leader, his name is Naim Qassem. issued a stark warning. He said, if Israel resumes large-scale military operations in Lebanon, Hezbollah will launch missile strikes on Israeli territory. Now, I went ahead and translated a portion of his speech. I want you to listen to it because you can hear it right from his mouth.
Not in Israel's interest to go for wide aggression, because if they go for wide aggression, it means the resistance will defend, the army will defend, and the people will defend. This defense will lead to rockets falling inside the Israeli entity. God bless you. It is in their interest not to engage in this wide-scale war, to avoid the reaction and resistant defense. This is their interest, and this is how they are thinking. Therefore, no one should exaggerate too much, meaning they can launch this aggression at any time they want. Why, if you give them everything, will the aggression stop? The aggression will not stop because they have everything today. Look at Palestine. No one can.
Now, I just want you to notice there, he's not speaking in person to all his followers. He's hiding in a bunker someplace because that guy will, his little big white beanie there will soak up a missile very, very quick as Israel continues to drop warheads on foreheads in Lebanon.
Deprive Lebanon of its strength to protect its sovereignty, policy, and capabilities. No one can prevent Lebanon from being dignified. They did all this, and where did they end up? Without discussion. No national security and no defense strategy. This is wrong. We cannot accept that the Lebanon gradually relinquishes its strength while all the power cards remain with the Israeli enemy.
So he's actually, if you listen to what he says, he's actually admitting that Hezbollah is on the ropes. He's saying Israel has all the power cards and they have everything right now. He said that twice in that speech. But he also threatened that they would wipe out Israel's, he said they would wipe out Israel's air defenses in an hour. I don't know about that, but that's what he thinks. Now, he also revealed that they had so far lost some 5,000 Hezbollah fighters who've been killed and another 13,000 wounded so far in this war. But he insisted that the group remains, operationally capable. I don't know how true that is because he's hiding in a bunker. Everybody's afraid to go near anything electronic, and it's really thrown those guys for a loop. And Israel continues to find and destroy their heavy weapons and missiles and, command centers and things like that. That doesn't mean they don't have a lot left. They probably do have plenty left that they could use. But so this is where the pressure from the United States and the Lebanese government is coming in. Now, the Lebanese government has given Hezbollah a deadline in September to turn over their weapons to the Lebanese government, and the Lebanese army will be the only armed force in Lebanon. Hezbollah says, nope, we're not going to do that. Now, in some cases, they actually have. I've seen a couple of reports where the Lebanese army has showed up and said, those weapons right there, you're giving them to us. And they didn't have much choice, so they handed them over. But at least by what they're saying, they are not going to give up their military capabilities. And Israel has already said that that would be cause for Israel to re-enter Lebanon and go back to shooting on the ground, not just dropping warheads on foreheads. So if that happens, Israel has said, we will not differentiate between the Lebanese army and Hezbollah. They know that a good portion of the soldiers in the Lebanese army either moonlight as Hezbollah or have family members who are in Hezbollah. And there's been a lot of crossover as the United States has given the Lebanese army, get this, $330 million a year. The United States military transfers weapons, Humvees, armored vehicles, things like that to the Lebanese army. That's your tax dollars and mine going to support an army which is actually fairly weak. And the reason they're fairly weak, even with that kind of cash infusion, is because so much of that gets siphoned off to Hezbollah. But Hezbollah is definitely in a funding crunch right now. They are not getting the money they used to from Iran. Israel has been intervening in Syria to a large extent and has been interfering or intercepting weapons shipments and cash shipments from Iran that are supposed to go to Hezbollah. So now the question is Hezbollah looking to stage a comeback? Now, they are publicly denouncing the Lebanese government's plan to disarm them. And they insist that they will only, they'll only consider disarmament after Israel withdraws from Lebanese territory and stops its strikes. And so what's missing from this is that he's not making a lot of noise about Gaza anymore, which is surprising, right? So are they trying to stage a comeback? Well, not exactly. Not in the traditional sense of like up-arming themselves aggressively. Evidence actually suggests the opposite, because Israel continues to take out more and more of their weaponry. So they may be getting some new stuff, but on balance, they're losing more and more of their military materiel every day. But the problem is that's not good enough for Israel. Israel is saying, no, Hezbollah has to completely disarm. Otherwise, we're coming back into Lebanon and we're going to take and hold territory just like we're doing down in Gaza. See, holding their land is the one thing that really scares those guys. This is, Arab Muslims, they can't give up land. They believe that once they have inhabited it, it's theirs forever. That's part of their scripture. So they're looking for ways to scale back their arsenal. They're getting less support from Syria as well. And although some past U.S. intelligence has indicated that they've been attempting to rebuild their stockpiles after losing a large portion of their arsenal, current reporting points toward kind of a more cautious posture. And I would say that listening to that, that's why I like to actually translate and listen to the tone and the words that the leader actually says. Because listening to that, he starts out by saying, we're going to overwhelm Israel's defenses in an hour with all our missiles. And then by the end, he's saying, Israel's got all the power cards here. They don't need to invade Lebanon anymore because they've already got everything. And now you know that his job, Naim Qasim's job, is to try to rally the troops. So he's not doing a great job at that, I don't think. But there is one very important arena where Hezbollah is plussing up their capabilities. And it has to do with what they see in Gaza taking place. They've watched very closely as Hamas has done a virtual information judo move on Israel and has turned the entire world against Israel, made them very angry at Israel for this starvation campaign. And even though more and more information comes out every day, Fox News got into Bill Hemmer, which is interesting because they did not send Trey Yingst into Gaza. They sent Bill Hemmer. So I don't know what's going on with that. Trey has been, like I said, kind of going off the rails a little lately, I think. But they got into GHF checkpoint. They talked to people. I saw an interview with that they did with a little girl, not a little girl. She was, I don't know, maybe 18. Beautiful, lovely, lovely Palestinian girl. And she was very clearly saying, Hamas is the problem here. The Americans are giving us food. You know, the world body is trying to give us food. The only thing that's causing misery in Gaza is Hamas. She was very clearly saying that. So I kind of wonder what's going to happen to her. But it's interesting to see for sure. Now, however, like I say, more and more information is coming out every day that disproves the hunger theory, but the media is still running with it because it's been very effective against Israel. And so Hezbollah is watching this and they're saying, so we need to trot out the kids and we need to start fighting harder in the information battle space. So I want to show you what they did. I hope I got this in here correctly. Not that one, not that one. Okay, I'm gonna have to put it in here. I thought I got it in, and I guess I did not. There it is. This is what Hezbollah has been putting out lately, what they've started to put out lately. Check this out.
My name is Hossam Mohammed Hini. I am 12 years old. I am a student in the 6th grade on September 17th. The pager rang with a noise at the door and exploded. I got many disfigurements on my face and hands.
Hello, I am Sarah Jafal. I am 21 years old. I graduated 2 months ago from the massacre that happened to me on the 17th of September, the Pager massacre. I graduated in Information Technology Management from the Lebanese American University. I almost lost my sight completely for a month. Then I regained vision in one eye, and now that eye is gone. I also experienced amputation of fingers and partial amputation of fingers, the right hand as well.
So they're putting out a lot of these interviews, and of course, they're showing you the children. Oh my gosh, you know, Israel is so terrible because these children were injured in the pager attack, and it is horrific. It's very sad. This is the nature of war. And I have to say, if I was a Hezbollah operative and my kid got blown up by my pager, I would never get over that. I would feel so responsible for causing that pain and suffering for my kid. And I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be happy with Israel for sure for doing it. But I would say, I would go the rest of my life saying, I should have kept that pager on me. I should have kept it away from the kids. How was I supposed to know? And it's very sad that happened to some kids, but it is the nature of war, and that is collateral damage. Point, period, end of story. Now, again, very sad, tragic. And I wish that Hezbollah had not fired tens of thousands of rockets at Israel to cause Israel to have to essentially pull the nuclear option on Hezbollah, something that they had been, they'd had in place for years, and decided, well, it's time, we've got to push that button. So, yeah, I mean, Ditz spoke, says Hezbollah parents' fault. That's what I think. I blame the parents. Maybe you shouldn't be part of a terrorist group And, you know, your kid, if you are part of a terrorist group, there's a good chance your wife and kids are going to get affected by that in a negative way. There have been plenty of wives and children that have been killed in this war because they were in the same house or in the same room with the father, who was a high-ranking terror operative, and had a missile come through his window. Israel actually tries to avoid that whenever possible. They will watch a subject for a long period of time and wait, and they're very patient, and wait to see if there's a period of time, like when the kids might be at school or the wife is off in the marketplace every day or whatever, and say, you know, at what point is this guy alone where we can smoke him without taking out his kids? They do try to do that, but sometimes you just can't help it. And that's the nature of war. Now, running the numbers, Israel has killed fewer civilians per capita in this war than the United States did in Iraq or Afghanistan. We've talked about that quite a bit on this show. So even though, you know, you still hear this genocide, 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 they're just beating the drum for genocide in Gaza. The mainstream media, everybody's calling it a genocide, and it's having real world repercussions. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But I want to show you this graph of actual genocides and what they did to, I'm gonna zoom this in a little bit here. Okay. So the Holocaust reduced the Jewish population by 63%. The Rwandan genocide reduced the Hutus by 81%. The Armenian genocide, which happened and caused actually part of the Holocaust, reduced the Armenian population by 78%. And the Cambodian genocide reduced the population by 25%. In this war, this is going back to 1948, because they've been claiming genocide ever since then, the Gazan population has increased by 450%. So Israel trying to secure its borders, trying to keep out terrorists, and trying to stop rocket attacks and bombings and things like that from Gaza, has managed to, if they're trying to genocide the people, as Mike Huckabee said the other day, they're very, very, very bad at it. So this cannot be called a genocide in any way, shape, or form. It's just, it's intellectually dishonest to call what's happening in Gaza a genocide. It's totally is. I mean, Israel could have killed twice as many Hezbollah operatives if they didn't care about the civilians. No question. No question. Every time Israel makes a strike, whether it's an airstrike or a mortar or well, I don't know about mortars, they're pretty small, but you know, artillery strike or anything like that, a drone strike, there is a lawyer standing next to the commander that has to order the strike, watching and listening to everything that's going on. And that lawyer can turn it off in a heartbeat. He can say, or she, you're not authorized to do this strike. What they're looking for is whether or not this is a just and righteous strike. And if they didn't do that, a lot more civilians would have died, but a lot more Hamas operatives would have died too. And Israel would be much closer to ending this war that might be over by now. And they would have lost a lot fewer Israeli soldiers. So in a really perverse way, what you have are Israeli soldiers putting themselves at greater risk in order to save Palestinian lives, in order to keep from killing Palestinians. And so, I mean, there's so much evidence out there about that. You don't have to go to Israel. You don't have to go to Gaza and see it for yourself. There's so much information on the airwaves, on Telegram and X and Facebook and everywhere else that proves what I'm saying. the the knock on, what do they call those knock bombs that they drop on a building just to let people in the building know that they're about to flatten that building so they have time to get out, or have saved hundreds, if not thousands of lives in Gaza. That's why there's such good footage out there of buildings in Gaza getting blown up by missiles, because they know that Israel is going to strike that building, since Israel lets them know ahead of time. And what this does is allows Hamas to live to fight another day as well. And that obviously is prolonging the war, right? Now, back in Lebanon, just to reiterate, Hezbollah is warning it'll strike Israel if they resume attacks on the ground. So if Israeli troops come into Lebanon, we are going to start shooting missiles at Israel again. However, their political strength remains intact. They might be diminished militarily, but politically in the areas that they control, they still have a lot of, support. Now, I wanted to see, I know I put that in there. I could swear that
My name
yeah, that's
is
the
Hossam.
kid. That's the graph. And this was supposed to be these protesters. Here it is. Here we go. Yeah. So these are pro-Hezbollah protesters that are protesting in Lebanon. I think this is in Beirut. In support of Hezbollah. So as a political force, they still are winning votes out there. And that doesn't bode well for this whole operation. So we may see more, again, Israelis being evacuated from the north, IDF troops going into Lebanon. They have already said, we're going to continue to strike Lebanon whenever we see something that needs to be struck. And they've got drones flying over Lebanon all the time. They are doing the same thing in Syria. They have done on-the-ground raids in Syria over the last couple of days. They are continuing to cause things to spontaneously combust in Iran as well. There was an Iranian, explosion that happened. This is the one in Lebanon, but that Iranian explosion, there's been multiple ones almost every day. So I want to, okay, here it is. Here's the video. I'll show that to you. Whoop. We got to make it bigger. It's very short. Okay, never mind. But anyway, I had a video of an explosion in Iran, and it just looks like a brush fire off in the distance, but the place where it's burning is an IRGC base. So there are more drone attacks, not flying from Israel all the way to Iran, but from within Iran. There are Mossad agents running all over Iran, just causing havoc, trying to keep Iran on the back foot as well. Now, just an hour ago, Amir Tsarfati reported that a senior Israeli official said that Iran is planning another attack on Israel in the near future. Now, we've heard that, 3 times now? And I think perhaps these explosions that keep taking place in Iran are part of the reason why Iran is trying to get it together to be able to strike Israel again, because they're just really, really upset that things keep going kablooey in their country. And it's costing them a lot in terms of materiel, capability, and morale for their troops. Can you imagine it being a Iranian soldier and watching things just spontaneously combust on an almost daily basis? And look, if you've ever been in the military, you know that the rumor mill in the military is like nothing else. And so that scuttlebutt is flying all over between the troops in Iran, that, oh, there was another bombing over here, or something else blew up over there. There was a bunch of troops that got killed, whatever. And these guys are, running scared. But the leadership in Iran is getting more and more angry. And so there may actually be a strike from Iran on Israel in the near future. If that happens, Israel will absolutely go back after Iran, and we will see another 12-day war happening with Iran, and Iran will get hurt significantly again. Look, the Iranian government knows how close they came to being decapitated in this last 12-day war. And so I have to wonder if the Iranian government is stupid enough or just hateful enough to try to go after Israel again, because Israel's going to pull out all the stops this time, and Khamenei is likely to meet his fate. So your questions are getting put over on another document. I'm going to go answer those in a few minutes. So go ahead and keep asking your questions. Just stick around, and I will answer them shortly. Now, there's another video that's completely unrelated. I just wanted to show you because it's like, holy cow! There was a major flood in India that just happened, and I need to here. Let's turn that down. Look at that. Holy smokes. So we need to be praying for the people of India that are facing, it looks like a whole town getting wiped out by this landslide. And that likely will lead to a lot of casualties. So we'll be hearing more about that as well. Now, somebody just said that there is a active shooter at incident with casualties at Fort Stewart, Georgia. That's important to me because my son was stationed at Fort Stewart. Fortunately, he's out of the military now, but still lives in Savannah. The news that I see here shows that 5 soldiers were shot in an active shooter incident today. They said at the base. The shooting at the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area was reported at 10:56 a.m. and the suspect was apprehended about 45 minutes after that. There is no active threat to the community, they say. Victims are en route to Regional Trauma Center, Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah, and Fort Stewart is about 40 miles southwest of Savannah. The governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, said on social media, "We're keeping the victims, their families, and all those who answer the call to serve in our hearts and prayers." President Trump has been briefed on the shooting, and that is all that is that I see on that right now. But it doesn't sound like anybody has been pronounced dead just yet, thank God, in that shooting. So, all right, let's go over to our questions. What's that? Oh, you're uploading the questions? Okay. I'm going to go get the questions here. Connie does a great job of uploading your questions for me. Before I get to the questions, folks, let me just mention, I went out hiking again today, and I started this new YouTube channel. I don't know if you heard me talk about that a couple days ago. It's just kind of for fun. This YouTube channel took 6 years and over 1,000 videos before it made any money. So I'm not really thinking that it's going to make a lot of money over there, but it's just kind of a hobby. I'm an avid outdoorsman, love to hike wherever I go in the world. And I did another beautiful hike in the mountains around Vanadzor today, and I'll be putting the video of that up on my new channel. So maybe Connie or somebody can put up the link for that new channel, and you can go subscribe over there. Putting up, it's just called, if you just search for my name, Chuck Holton, it's called Holton Adventures. So it's youtube.com/@Holton Adventures or whatever, something like that. But Connie will put the link up in the chat here for a second. And I'm just putting up, I'm not on camera. It's not about me. It's just about, there are lots of people who don't get to travel like I do. And I'm just uploading some of the beautiful places I get to go so that you can see them for yourself. And we do yearly tours to Armenia. Why Armenia, you might say? Because, you know, a lot of people are like, where's Armenia? Why would you do that? Well, listen, I've been to more than 100 countries around the globe. And Armenia is overall the best country I've ever been to. It is incredibly beautiful. It's very safe. There's no place in this country I wouldn't let Connie walk at 11 o'clock at night by herself. No place in the entire country. There's not a bad neighborhood in this country. You don't see graffiti all over everything. People are just friendly and open, and they just treat you like your family. I mean, we were out today filming at a local church, and a man just came up and just struck up a conversation. Very nice to see you here. Oh, that's great. We're glad you're here. Oh, you must love Armenia. You know, that sort of thing. People are just effusive in their friendliness. And the first question I get asked when I bump into somebody, when I'm out on the trail, up in the mountains, someplace, you know, very remote, they'll run into you and they'll say, "How can I help you?" It's the first thing they say. So I'm just amazed that Armenia is not on the top of everybody's bucket list. It should be. It's got amazing biblical history and just so much to offer. The food is great. So we're doing another trip to Armenia next June. So you've got plenty of time to save your shekels, get your passport, and come along with us. So if you'd like to travel with me and my wife for 11 days on a luxury tour of Armenia, you want to get signed up for that very quickly, because we've just got a very limited number of seats left available on the bus, and you're going to want to grab them. We got one family that wants to bring 8 people that may fill up the rest of the tour if they actually do that. But we're also looking at some other adventure tours to other countries. But for now, Armenia is the next one. Well, actually, the next one we've got is to Panama, but that one's full. So the next one that's available that has seats where you can get on the tour with us is in Armenia next June. So if you can go to armeniamovie.com, and there's a link there. And hopefully, there we go, holtonnews.com/Armenia tour as well. Amy put in the chat. Thank you, Leona. Appreciate that, 1999. You're the first person to donate today, and so I appreciate that very much. You're very kind. No, not the first person. Oh, it doesn't show me everybody before that then. But thank you very much for all of you who have donated. We are, this is my primary job now on YouTube. You guys have made that possible. I'm still doing reporting for CBN and Newsmax and everything when I get a chance. I'm finishing up a package today for CBN, but this is my primary focus at this point, and you all have made that possible through your generosity. So thank you very much for doing that. Please also go over to chuckholton.com, and you can become a supporter over there and get lots of extra stuff and cute pictures of my new grandbaby I just put up last night. If you want to go take a look at my beautiful new grandson, go over to chuckholton.com. You can see it. Okay, so let's get to your questions. Question number 1 from Ellen McClellan. Is Hamas working with Hezbollah to keep Gaza? Okay, not to keep Gaza. Hezbollah does not have people in Gaza. But Hamas does have people in Lebanon. So you could say Hamas and Hezbollah are still working together in Lebanon. Hamas is not just in Gaza. They're also in Judea and Samaria and Hebron. They're also in East Jerusalem. They're also in Lebanon and in Syria. So Israel is going to have its work cut out for it, even once it conquers Gaza, because Hamas exists in lots of other places as well. Lord Peanut II asks, why does Israel bother to talk to the UN when the UN hates Israel and doesn't listen or care anyway? Well, it's a platform, right? I mean, Gideon Saar gave a very rousing speech. I was going to play this speech for you, but I'm going to make a separate video out of that, put that up separately so you can watch it. He gave an impassioned speech to the UN today that was really damning, that really just, gave it to him. And they continue their presence at the UN. They continue to be a part of the UN so that they can counter the narratives that are pushed in the UN. If they pull out, there will be nobody to counter those narratives. It's a good question. Keith Lewis asks, is Lebanon trying to disarm Hezbollah, or are they just playing a political game? No, they are trying to disarm Hezbollah because they are tired of things in Beirut blowing up. And again, Israel has threatened, if the Lebanese army doesn't take care of this problem and disarm Hezbollah, the Israelis will do it, but they will also disarm the Lebanese army. They will go hard against everybody. And Lebanon is very weak. They can't, their economy is in shambles, absolute shambles, and they can't handle that. They don't want to go to war with Israel. PC asks, Chuck, why has the Lebanese president ruled out diplomatic relations with Israel? This guy's a Maronite Christian. He's trying to talk tough. He's trying to keep his position in power. I mean, he's got to speak for everybody in his country, and his country is majority Muslim at this point. Wasn't always that way, but it is now. And so, what you listen to what the leaders of Arab countries say, it's pretty uniformly anti-Israel. Even countries like Jordan and the UAE and Saudi Arabia, who have actually been helping Israel in this war, they've actually helped to shoot down Iranian missiles and drones in this war, but they still say things that are negative toward Israel because they're playing to their base. That's their voter base, right? Wendy Loom asks, how much longer will that Iranian speaker have to live? How many days? Can you ask the IDF? Well, the IDF likely would strike him right now if they thought they could get to him, if they knew where he was and they thought they could drop a bunker buster on him and get to him. They probably don't know where he is. Israel has very good human intelligence inside Lebanon and very good signals intelligence over Lebanon. So it's hard for Hezbollah to move around, but Naim Qassem was deeply hidden before he was named the new leader of Hezbollah, and he's probably not left his bunker since. So he's underground somewhere, and Israel may get to him at some point, but not yet. Now, when it comes to the Houthis down in Yemen, Israel is likely planning a wider war against them, even up to and including a naval blockade of Yemen, not allowing anything in or out of Yemen in the near future. Now they're trying to figure out how to wrap up things in Gaza a little bit because that's taken a vast majority of their resources. But if they were able to put a bow on Gaza at some point, they're going to go really hard against the Houthis. And they're going to do to the Houthis what they did to Hezbollah. Now, that may even include Israeli troops on the ground in Yemen. So all that to say, this war is nowhere close to over, folks. Israel's got a lot of hard fighting left to do on many battlefronts. What remains to be seen is whether Hezbollah's push into the information realm, showing off these kids that have been maimed by the Operation Grim Reaper, is going to get any traction. I think it probably will. I would not be surprised to see those videos that I just showed coming out all over the place in the press, New York Times and Wall Street Journal and CNN and all that in the near future. One thing that I saw on Reuters today, and I posted it on X, is now Hamas is shifting its narrative in Gaza to try to keep pressure on Israel and come up with a new, manufactured crisis that's all Israel's fault. Now, what you're starting to see news items come out saying, well, okay, so Israel's allowing lots of food into Gaza, so there's plenty of food in Gaza. It's hard for them to deny that now. There's just too much evidence that there's plenty of food in Gaza. But now the big problem is water. And there's not enough water, and people are going to die of thirst in Gaza if Israel doesn't allow more water in. Now, the crazy thing about that is Israel pumps millions of gallons of water into Lebanon every single day for free. The problem is the water system in Gaza is in shambles because a lot of those water pipelines were very near tunnels that Hamas dug under Gaza. And so when the IDF blows up those tunnels, it damages the water system as well. So there are lots of places in Gaza where people have to trek for an hour or more on foot to get any water. And it's oftentimes the kids who are sent off to get water because the parents are out looking for food or whatever. And so now you're seeing these sob stories about, oh gosh, the people in Gaza are going to die of thirst and it's all Israel's fault. Well, wait a minute. Israel is allowing the UAE to put in another water pipe that's going to provide water for 600,000 people. And it'll be complete and pumping water into Gaza in the next several weeks. But for the next several weeks, you're going to see the shift now from everybody in Gaza is starving to now everybody in Gaza is dying of thirst. Just watch. That's what's going to happen. Catherine Lindquist says, why is the UN blaming Israel for the food not getting to the Gazans? Because the UN is anti-Semitic and hates Israel. They blame Israel for everything. Priscilla asks, do you think there's a threat to the Jewish community in Panama? Not so much. Panamanians are not really invested in this conflict like a lot of people are in America. Panamanians are by and large a very pacifistic people, very passive people. And it's too hot to get all worked up about that. Besides, they got their own problems down there with cuts to their Panamanians. Don't get me started on what the Panamanians did, but they got their own problems to deal with. And so there are a lot of Jews in Panama, but I don't think that there's a serious threat from the Panamanians to them. Now, what could happen is Iranian sleeper agents coming into Panama and assassinating Jews. On that note, there was a horrific anti-Semitic attack just outside of St. Louis today on a former Israeli soldier who lives in the United States. He's an American citizen, but he's also an Israeli, and he had come to Israel, fought with the IDF in Gaza, and now he's gone back home to St. Louis. And somebody came and painted anti-Semitic graffiti on his driveway and burned and on his house and burned both of his cars in a really heinous anti-Semitic attack just today. So we're seeing a huge rise, over 400% over before the war started in anti-Semitic attacks. I just saw that more than 70% of all of the hate crimes that are perpetrated in the United States over the last 12 months were against Jews. 70%. And Jews are a minuscule amount of people, minuscule fraction of the US population. So that is a really outsized number to have that many attacks happening against Israelis in the United States. It's really egregious. And that's something we need to speak out about on a very, daily basis, right? Cynthia Cantrell says, does Israel have those tiny camera drones? They can find bunkers with those tiny things. Yes, they do. They have lots and lots of technology, not just drones, some other things that I can't share with you. But yes, they've got lots of electronic surveillance measures in place, both in Gaza, in Lebanon, even in Syria to some extent. Not as much in Yemen. That's part of the reason why it's been difficult for Israel to pull off an Operation Grim Reaper in Yemen, because they did not have as robust an intel gathering capability in Yemen at the beginning of the war. Now, they are certainly trying to remedy that now, but so far yes, they have, to answer your question, they have lots of those camera drones. Scott Nassler asks, what's to stop Hezbollah from stealing people like Hamas did? Just the wall. Just the border fence. There is a significant border fence on the border between Israel and Lebanon, but it's not impenetrable by any means. And it is certainly a real, very real threat to the people who live in the northern part of Israel, that Hamas operatives could break through the fence, could raid a kibbutz, and could take a bunch of hostages. Now, the people in the north are far more prepared for that sort of thing now than they were on October 7th. So it would be much harder, but it certainly is a possibility. And you're right, Israel has to remain vigilant. Dennis O asks, who's building that water main? Contractors or IDF engineers? No, the UAE is hiring people to do it. I'm sure it's not UAE citizens. Those guys, it's not sheikhs out there in their man dresses digging the water main in. They're probably hiring workers from Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, places like that. If you go to the UAE, well, actually lots of Arab countries, UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, even Jordan, even Iraq, places like that, you will find a tremendous, massive number of laborers from Thailand, the Philippines, and Indonesia, and places like that. They import lots of labor because they have the money to do it and they don't really want to work. So in the UAE or Kuwait, for example, if you're a Kuwaiti citizen, you get something like $80,000 or $100,000 a year per person in your family from the government out of their oil revenues. So I've got 5 kids. So me and my wife, we'd get like $800,000 a year from the Kuwaiti government if we were Kuwaiti. Well, if that were the case, I'd be hiring somebody to do all my work for me too. And people from the Philippines, they're the nicest people in the world. People from Thailand as well, super, super outgoing, friendly, and affable people. And they are hard workers and they need the money because their own economies are in kind of bad shape. So they go all over the world to work. I run into them everywhere, and you can always tell who they are because they're the ones who look like they're really happy to have a job. And of course, they have the features and the accent and everything to go with it. Broski Bear says, Chuck, do you think the long-term solution for Gaza will be Israel running a police state there? That's what they're planning. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu has decided. They are going to take over all of Gaza, and they're going to occupy Gaza and stay in Gaza for the indefinite future. He says, any chance the Gazans get sent to a few countries in Africa or Central Asia that we haven't mentioned? Israel is willing to let Gazans go wherever they can go legally. They can't go to Israel. But they've been talking with Ethiopia and Libya and I think Indonesia about taking Gazans, large numbers of Gazans who will leave voluntarily, but they're not going to force them to leave. That would be ethnic cleansing, and that would not be righteous. Ron says, how many tunnels are left in Gaza? Plenty, because there is about 25% of Gaza that's never been touched by the Israelis at this point. And that's where they're pushing into now. And this is going to get more and more difficult as this operation goes on, because the Israelis have got to deal with all of the civilians there. They're out of places to move the civilians. The civilians have been crammed into 25% of Gaza, and Israel is going to hold all the rest of the land that they've taken. And so, other than a few camps that Israel is opening up down in Rafah and places like that, they don't have anywhere to put these people. And Hamas is hiding among those people. So because they're hiding among those people, it's going to be more and more and more difficult for Israel to clear those areas of Hamas. I mean, look, there are literally over 1 million military-age males in Gaza. About half of Gaza is military-age males. And those guys, okay, so a lot of them are just guys that just want to do their thing and be left alone, and they're not really keen on being a part of Hamas. But Hamas has a deep well there, and they, are pretty persuasive when they say, you're going to come fight for us or we'll shoot you in the kneecaps, right? And there's tons of videos. I just saw another one yesterday of Hamas torturing Gazans for minor things, stealing some food, trying to get food, taking food from GHF, stuff like that. I don't share a lot of those videos with you, especially here on YouTube, because they'd get me demonetized. But I can put some of them up over at chuckholton.com if you're interested, for our supporters over there. Okay. MGR asks, why doesn't other Muslim countries get involved and control their Muslim radicals like Hamas? I think I understand your question. And actually, countries like Iraq, especially the Kurds in northern Iraq, they do clamp down on their extremists pretty hard. The UAE, Kuwait, they don't do any of that suicide bomber stuff and all that stupid stuff. They will crack down hard on extremists in their midst because they want to have safe, prosperous countries. And they don't really, those countries don't give their citizens the same rights and freedoms that Americans have. So the government has the ability to really come down hard on you, like as in make you and your whole family disappear kind of thing, if you are suspected, even remotely, of being part of a radical group. Lord Peanut II says, what does Israel have to lose by occupying Gaza except money and risks to the soldiers? Well, yeah, I mean, you make a good point. They're being accused of occupying Israel anyway. So as far as international opprobrium goes, how can it get any worse if they go ahead and occupy the whole thing? But these are, it's easier said than done. It's going to take, as you said, lots of money and lots of risks to soldiers. And I detailed all that yesterday on yesterday's live. So if you missed that, go back and watch yesterday's live. And I went through the numbers of what it'll actually cost to take over the rest of Gaza and then to hold it. Now, the Trump administration said today that they would like to be involved in a big way in rebuilding Gaza. I don't think President Trump quite understands that that whatever money we pour into Gaza will only be enjoyed by Palestinians in Gaza, because Gaza is not going to be on anybody's bucket list in terms of a place to go for spring break anytime soon. And when there are, as long as there are people in Gaza who are, wanting to kill anybody who doesn't think like them, which that'll probably be the case for the foreseeable future, well, nobody's going to want to go there on vacation. So I don't think we should be spending U.S. tax dollars to rebuild Gaza. Okay, I will. With all the tunnels in Gaza, wouldn't the ground be really unstable to build on again? Well, they're blowing them all up and collapsing them. So then everything's going to have to get bulldozed and they'll start over from scratch. It'll just, maybe Gaza will be a few feet lower by the time they're done with it. Lovely Lyric says, it would be a good investment for Israel to help them with money to move to another country. Israel has actually talked about doing that. Are you going to bring him over here? Here. So, folks, if you are a supporter over at chuckholton.com, I'm going to do a live call Saturday for my supporters, where, like a Zoom call, where you can talk to me face to face and we can interact and take questions. So those have been real popular in the past. If you want to be a part of that, go over to chuckholton.com and become a supporter, and then you'll get the link on chuckholton.com. And here is little William. This is my newest grandbaby, number 6. And he is absolutely perfect. He even still has that new baby smell. I love the new baby smell. And this is all he does really right now, is he just sits here and hangs out and eats and sleeps and gets his diaper changed. And that was about it. So thank you to all of you who made it possible for me to come and do some reporting from Armenia so I could be here for the birth of my grandson. And I appreciate all of you. And thank you for your prayers for a safe delivery. Mama is doing well and recovering very quickly from the birth. Thank God she didn't have to have a C-section or anything like that. So everything just standard model, natural way and all that. So again, thank you very much for watching the Hot Zone. That's all the time we've got for today. But I appreciate all of you. And thank you for being faithful viewers. If you're coming on for the first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and then you can get notified when I'm going live again. And please hit the like button on your way out as well. So thanks for watching again.